this has the potential to be an extremely premature assessment. However, today, after doing Bulgarian split squats for the first time in over 6 weeks, yesterday, I felt much better. Felt really good. And after warming into the movement, working up gradually on the movement, and just applying some, how do I put it? I've lost the word. Priority. Putting some priority on that exercise during this workout, the last set felt like the best set. And the areas in which I had been experiencing discomfort dissipated as the sets went on, as the reps went on. And it felt really good. It felt really, really good. Which supports my theory that it's underuse and overuse at the same time. As I said yesterday, I've been stretching a lot, especially my inner hips, I guess you could say, because my outer hips have been getting neglected, like my glute med T-band area have been getting neglected. However, adductors and hip flexors, psoas at the bottom, at the insert of my pelvis, so on and so forth, have been stretched hard and a lot, simply because of how I've been living, how I've been sitting. So I'm looking forward to putting this idea to the test. And today, after thinking about it last night, I decided it was time to give it a go. One of the ideas that I've wanted to do for a while now, and that's to bench, deadlift and squat in one session. And I'm really glad I did it, because it made me realize that I can definitely do that on a regular basis, 100%. Now, when I say bench, deadlift and squat, I must be very clear with myself that I most definitely mean a variation of the bench, a variation of the deadlift, and a variation of the squat. And if I get all three of those done in enough time, then I can do something else that I want to do. But it was nice to know that I could do it, and both physically, mentally, and from a time perspective. I shortened my rest times quite dramatically, especially for the warm-up. The way I kind of treated it was as if in my head I treated it like the first exercise, which today was Bulgarians, was a warm-up to get my whole body warm. Second exercise was my priority, which was the bench today. And the third exercise was like just like a movement pattern focused exercise. So for example, with the Bulgarians, I kept them quite light. I didn't even go as heavy as I did yesterday, partly because of how uncomfortable yesterday was. I worked at 50 for a few sets, worked my way up to 50 and then worked at 50 for a few sets. Went to bench, worked up to 110, came back down to 80 for a set. And then went to deadlifts, and I went straight in the deep end on deadlifts. It started at 140, and to be honest, it felt amazing because I tweaked my technique a tiny bit. I made my legs slightly wider, which made a world of difference to me, to the point where I was talking to a friend about it at the gym, and I found myself getting overexcited and wanting to like deadlift even heavier just to try it, just to see how it felt, because I ended up doing 180 for 4 singles, and they felt like the best 180s I've ever done on the deadlift. And I couldn't help but put it down to the tweak in the technique. So that was a really good experience. Ended off with some hanging and some stretching. It felt good. It felt real good. But like I said, today wasn't even the most efficient. I ended up training with a friend for certain periods of today's session, and even then, it didn't take too much time. I got the bulk of the workout done within 2 hours. That's excluding the warm-up and so on and so forth. And to be quite frank, that's the usual amount of time I spend there. So that's kind of exciting for me. So I'm kind of looking forward to playing with this idea, because it allows me to get so much more in throughout my week. And yeah, I look forward to seeing where it goes. Somebody made an interesting comment on yesterday's video, which has a lot of merit. He pointed out the fact that my legs could have got weak due to poor diet and poor recovery, which, generally speaking, yes, I would most definitely have to acknowledge those two as possibilities. However, after looking back through my training log, the idea of recovery kind of gets shat on by the fact that my legs were the strongest when I was training them like 4 or 5 times a week, if not more. And with regards to food, that could most definitely play a part. However, I can't imagine it playing more of a part than the lack of use, due to the fact that I have got significantly stronger in other areas during the same period in which my legs have got weak. And it just so happens that I haven't been using my legs whilst I've been using other areas. So that tells me that whilst I, even to this day, have said many a times, I don't think my food intake is optimal. I'm not consuming as many calories as I would like to. I'm just consuming just about enough to continue progressing at a slow rate, which is perfect for me. So I'm gonna stick to the idea that it is usage related for now, and simply gonna get attacking my legs and see how it goes, because today felt good. Today felt really good. I feel really uncomfortable in the squat sometimes. Well, yesterday I did. The last time I squatted I didn't, so I can't really say that. But again, we'll play with that. Just keep pushing, keep moving, keep trying to figure out this puzzle, man. That's all we can do, really. But I definitely think the excess stretching has played a huge part. Louis Simmons used to talk a lot about how his lifters would come to him and be like, I pulled my hamstring, or I tore my hamstring, or I tore my quad, blah, blah, blah. And then he'd be like, well, what have you changed recently? And the athlete would often say, I've been stretching a lot. And Louis Simmons would just be there like, well, what the fuck do you expect, you idiot? If you teach a muscle to experience ranges of motion in which it's not strong, then of course it's going to encounter weaknesses. So it makes sense to me that where all the muscles at the top of my thigh, on the front of my body, insert into my pelvis, feel weak in a Bulgarian split squat in particular, that makes complete sense, because where has the focus of my quote-unquote stretching been? Where have I been living? What positions have I been living in? I've been living in positions that directly stretch those areas. So it's only right that those areas are going to experience weakness, especially considering the fact that I have neglected strengthening them. So we move, and I shall see you tomorrow.